What's up, guys? Welcome to Reddit Story Dose. Today we've got 5 stories for you, and trust me, these stories are absolutely insane. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. From prorevenge. Mechanic overcharged my elderly mom by $3,000. I got his shop shut down. My mom is 72 years old. She has been driving the same Honda Civic for 15 years. A 2009 in that faded silver-blue color that Honda loved back then. The paint has seen better days, and there is a small dent on the rear bumper from when she backed into a mailbox in 2016, but mechanically, that car has been bulletproof. She changes the oil every 5,000 miles like clockwork. She keeps a little notebook in the glove box where she writes down every fill-up, every service date, every tire rotation. She loves that car the way some people love a pet. It gets her to church, to the grocery store, to my house for Sunday dinner. It is her independence. Last spring, the car started making a rattling noise somewhere underneath. Nothing dramatic. Just a metallic vibration when she went over bumps or idled at a red light. She mentioned it to a neighbor, who recommended a shop she had seen advertised on a flyer stuck to her front door. Mom is not the type to bother people, so instead of calling me, she drove herself over there on a Tuesday morning. The mechanic, a guy in his 40s with a name patch that said, Rick, walked around the car, sucked air through his teeth the way they always do, and told her it was serious. He said the transmission was slipping and needed a full rebuild. He said the brake rotors were warped and had to be replaced. He said the catalytic converter was failing and would not pass the next emissions test. And then he said something about a flux capacitor recalibration. That last one is not a real thing. It is from a movie. He said it to a 72-year-old woman and she did not know any better. The total bill came to $4,800. He told her it was urgent. He told her the car was unsafe to drive. He told her he could have it done by Friday if she left it with him. My mom handed over her credit card and signed the paperwork and sat in the waiting room reading a magazine from 2019 while they supposedly fixed her car. She did not call me first. She did not want to be a burden. That is the part that still makes my chest tight when I think about it. When she mentioned it at Sunday dinner the following week, casually, between passing the potatoes and complaining about the weather, I nearly choked on my food. She said it so matter-of-factly. Oh, I had some work done on the Civic. The transmission and brakes and some other things. It was almost $5,000, but at least it is all taken care of now. I set my fork down. $5,000? Well, $4,800, she said, like that distinction mattered. I asked her what exactly was done. She pulled out the receipt from her purse. She keeps every receipt, and I read through the line items. Transmission rebuild, brake rotors, catalytic converter, flux capacitor recalibration. I read that last one twice. My jaw clenched so hard I felt it in my temples. Mom, I said, keeping my voice as level as I could. A flux capacitor is from Back to the Future. She looked at me blankly. Well, he said it was important. I did not sleep well that night. I kept picturing this guy looking at my mother, this small, trusting, gray-haired woman who brings cookies to her neighbors and still writes checks at the grocery store, and seeing a payday. It made my blood feel hot. The next morning, I took her car to my mechanic, Dave. I have used Dave for 10 years. He is honest to a fault. The kind of guy who once called me to say he could not find anything wrong with my truck even though I swore the steering felt off, and he did not charge me for looking. Dave put the Civic on the lift. I stood underneath it with him while he went through everything. He pointed with his flashlight and talked me through each item on Rick's invoice. The transmission was fine, shifted smoothly through every gear. No slipping, no hesitation, no unusual noise. This transmission has plenty of life left, Dave said, shaking his head. The original brake rotors were still on the car. I could see they had not been touched. The wear patterns were consistent, and there were no marks from new hardware. They were the same rotors that had been on the car for the last set of pads. The catalytic converter had not been replaced. Dave pointed to the original part, still bolted in place. See the factory welds? Nobody has touched this. He tapped it with his knuckle. And it is working fine, by the way. He kept looking. After about 5 minutes, he found it. He reached up and grabbed a thin piece of metal near the exhaust and wiggled it. It rattled, the exact same sound my mom had described. "Loose heat shield," he said. $20 fix. 10 minutes. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and neither of us said anything for a moment. Then he said, quietly, "That is really messed up. The shop had charged my 72-year-old mother nearly $5,000 and done almost nothing. Maybe they changed the oil. Maybe they did not even do that." I drove home with my hands tied on the steering wheel, running through what I wanted to do. Part of me wanted to walk into that shop and put Rick's head through his own invoice printer. But I did not do that. I am not that guy, and more importantly, that would not fix anything. I went to work instead. The kind of work that actually gets results. I started by pulling the shop's repair orders through a public records request. In my state, licensed auto repair shops have to keep copies of all work orders, and they are accessible. It took a couple of weeks to get them, but when I did, I sat at my kitchen table with a highlighter and went through every page. Then I started knocking on doors. I talked to other customers in the area, mostly people I found through online reviews and neighborhood Facebook groups. I was polite. I was patient. I asked simple questions. What were you told was wrong? What did you pay? Did you get a second opinion? I found 7 other elderly people who had been similarly overcharged for work that was either unnecessary or never performed. One woman, 81 years old, had paid over $3,000 for a brake job on a car that had fewer than 20,000 miles on it. Another man, 78, was charged for an engine diagnostic that supposedly took 4 hours on a car that had been at the shop for less than 2. The pattern was obvious. Rick was targeting older customers who would not question him. I compiled everything: receipts, work orders, second opinions from legitimate shops, written statements from the victims. I organized it into a clean file with tabs and summaries. Then I filed formal complaints with the State Consumer Protection Office, the Better Business Bureau, and the State Attorney General's Fraud Division. I sent each one the full packet. Then I called the local news station's consumer advocacy reporter. Her name was Karen, and she called me back within an hour. She said she loved cases like this. She meant she hated people like Rick. The investigation took 4 months. I will not pretend those months were easy. There were times I wondered if anything would actually happen, if the complaints would just disappear into some bureaucratic filing cabinet. But Karen kept me updated, and the Attorney General's office took it seriously. The shop's license was revoked. The owner faced multiple fraud charges, one for each victim they could build a solid case around. The news story aired during Sweeps Week, primetime, and named him by name. They showed the shop. They showed the fake invoices. They interviewed 2 of the elderly victims, including the 81-year-old woman, who cried on camera and said she had felt so stupid. She was not stupid. She was trusting. There is a difference. My mom got her money back. Full refund. So did 5 of the 7 other victims. The remaining 2 are still in the process, but it is moving. Mom called me the night the story aired. She had watched it with her neighbor. "I cannot believe he did that to all those people," she said. "I know, Mom. Thank you for taking care of it," she said, and her voice got that wobble in it that she gets when she is trying not to cry. "Always," I said. "Nobody scams my mother and gets away with it." Okay, get ready for this. My former business partner stole my client list. 3 years later I bought his company at auction. I started a consulting firm with my best friend from college. His name was Derek, and we had been inseparable since sophomore year when we got paired together on a statistics project and both showed up with the same beaten-up TI-84 calculator. We clicked immediately: same work ethic, same hunger, same vision of what we wanted our lives to look like. After graduation, we turned down corporate offers and rented a garage from his uncle for $400 a month. 2 folding desks, 2 laptops, 1 shared printer that jammed every 3rd page. We ate ramen 4 nights a week and cold pizza the other 3. We pitched every small business in a 30-mile radius, and most of them said no. But some said yes. And then those clients told other people about us, and slowly, painfully slowly, the thing started to work. Within 5 years, we had 40 clients and 7 figures in revenue. We moved out of the garage and into a real office. We hired a team. I remember the day we signed our biggest contract, a regional logistics company worth 6 figures annually, and Derek and I just sat in the parking lot afterward, not saying anything, just grinning like idiots. I thought we would be partners for life. Then he stabbed me in the back. It was our office manager, Lisa, who tipped me off. She came into my office one Tuesday afternoon with a look on her face like someone had died. She said she had noticed Derek accessing the client database at odd hours, 2 in the morning, weekends, and downloading bulk exports. She did not want to cause trouble, she said, but it did not feel right. I wish I had not looked into it. But I did. I discovered he had been secretly meeting with our biggest clients behind my back for months. Lunches, dinners, golf outings, all carefully scheduled on days when I was traveling or working from home. He was setting up a competing firm, registered under his wife's maiden name. He had copied our proprietary databases, our pricing models, our workflow templates, and our entire contact list onto a personal drive. Everything we had built together, duplicated and ready to walk out the door. My hands were shaking when I found the incorporation documents. I remember staring at the date on the filing and realizing he had started planning this while we were still celebrating our best quarter ever. He had looked me in the eye at our anniversary dinner, raised a glass to 10 more years of partnership, and he had already signed the lease on his new office space. When I confronted him, he did not even deny it. He leaned back in his chair, the chair I had picked out when we furnished the office together, and he shrugged. He actually shrugged. He said the clients preferred working with him and that I was more of a back-end guy. He said I should accept it and move on. He said it like he was doing me a favor, like he was being generous by telling me the truth. He walked out of our office that Friday. Did not say goodbye to the team. Did not take the photo of us from the garage off his desk. He just left. He launched his competing firm the following Monday. He took 60% of our clients with him. I know the exact number because I counted every single one. I sat alone in that office on Saturday morning, the silence pressing against my ears, and I cried. I am not ashamed to say that. 10 years of friendship, 5 years of building something from nothing, and it was gone in a week. I thought about quitting. I thought about suing. I thought about driving to his new office and saying things I could never take back. But I did none of that. Because I had something he did not, the systems, the processes, and the institutional knowledge that made those client relationships actually work. Derek was brilliant at shaking hands and buying lunches. He could charm anyone in a room. But he had never built a single workflow. He had never debugged the CRM at midnight. He had never written the onboarding protocols or the quality assurance checklists that kept clients coming back year after year. His firm had the names. Mine had the infrastructure. Over the next 3 years, I rebuilt. I did not try to win back what I had lost. I focused on what I still had. I improved our services, automated our reporting, invested in technology that made us faster and more accurate than anyone in the market. I called every remaining client personally and asked them one question. What can I do better? And then I actually did it. My remaining clients stayed loyal. Every single one. I added new ones, slowly at first, then faster. Revenue grew steadily. I hired carefully, people who shared the values Derek had pretended to share. The team got stronger. The work got better. His firm, meanwhile, was imploding. I heard it through the industry grapevine. The consulting world is smaller than people think. Without the systems and processes he had taken for granted, his team could not deliver at the same quality level. Projects ran late. Reports had errors. The same clients who had followed him for his charm started leaving when the charm was not backed up by results. He burned through cash trying to compete on price, slashing rates to keep people from walking. He took on debt to cover payroll. He hired fast and fired faster. I heard he went through 3 operations managers in 18 months. Each one quit when they realized there were no real systems in place. Just Derek winging it and hoping his smile would carry the day. 3 years after he walked out of our garage, his company filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Total liquidation. All assets went to auction. I attended that auction on a gray Tuesday morning in November. I wore a quiet suit and carried a cashier's check. The room smelled like stale coffee and desperation. There were maybe a dozen buyers there, picking over the bones of what used to be my competition. I sat in the back row and waited. I bought his company, what was left of it, for 14 cents on the dollar. That included his remaining client contracts, his office equipment, the desks and chairs, and that same printer model that used to jam in our garage. And it included the database he had stolen from me, which I now legally owned. I drove home that evening in silence. No music, no podcast, just the hum of the engine and the weight of what had just happened settling into my chest. I called him the next day. Not to gloat, I had rehearsed what I was going to say, kept it professional, kept it clean. I told him the acquisition was complete. I told him his former employees were welcome to apply for positions at my company, and that I would consider each application fairly. Most of them did apply within the week. Most of them got hired. There was a long pause on the line before he spoke. His voice sounded tired, older than I remembered. "Are you enjoying this?" he asked. I looked out my office window at the parking lot where we once sat together, grinning like idiots after landing our biggest client. "I'm just running my business, Derek," I said. "The same one you tried to kill." He hung up. I never heard from him again. Sometimes patience is the most devastating weapon you have. You do not need to fight back. You do not need to get even. You just need to keep building while the other person tears themselves apart. The world has a way of settling the score on its own if you give it enough time. This one blew my mind. AITA for telling my family I won't be their free babysitter anymore after 6 years? For 6 years, I have been the unofficial babysitter for my 3 siblings' children. 7 kids total. Every family gathering, every holiday, every weekend barbecue. The kids end up with me while the adults socialize. And for 6 years, I convinced myself that this was just how things were. That I was being a good aunt. That I was being a good sister. It started innocently enough. I am the youngest of 4 siblings and the only one without children of my own. At family events, when the kids would tug on my sleeve and ask me to push them on the swings or play hide and seek, I said yes every single time. Because I love those kids. I genuinely do. There is something about the way my youngest nephew, Caleb, wraps his arms around my neck and whispers, "You're my favorite," that makes everything else disappear. And my niece Lily, who is 7, once told me she wants to be just like me when she grows up. That kind of thing fills a part of your heart you did not even know was empty. But somewhere along the way, playing with them turned into being responsible for them. It happened so gradually I barely noticed. First, my oldest sister Karen would step inside to refill her drink and just not come back. Then my brother David started positioning himself near the front door at gatherings, car keys already in his pocket, ready to slip out for just a quick errand. My other sister, Melissa, perfected the art of handing me a sippy cup and a diaper bag while saying, "You're so much better with them than I am," like it was a compliment instead of an excuse. Then came the texts. "Can you watch the kids on Tuesday? David and I need a date night." "Hey, Melissa's got a work thing Saturday. Can you take the twins? Karen says she will drop off the boys at noon, hope that is okay." I never said no. I never asked for money. I never complained. For 6 years, I rearranged my schedule. I canceled plans with friends. I turned down a weekend trip to the coast with a guy the first had been seeing because Melissa needed me. He stopped calling after that. I told myself it did not matter. Last month, it hit me. We were at my parents' house for a family dinner. My mom had made her pot roast, the one that fills the whole house with this warm, heavy smell that makes you feel like you are 12 years old again. I walked through the front door and Caleb immediately ran to me, slamming into my legs so hard I almost dropped the pie I had brought. Aunt Jenny, come see my new shoes." He was bouncing, literally bouncing, and I knelt down and told him they were the coolest shoes I had ever seen. He beamed like I had handed him the sun. Within 20 minutes of arriving, all 3 of my siblings had handed their kids off to me and disappeared. Karen set her youngest on the kitchen counter next to me and said, "He just ate, so he should be fine for a while," and walked away without waiting for a response. David clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You've got this, champ," like I was some kind of employee he was encouraging. Melissa did not even say anything. She just made eye contact with me, gestured toward her twins, and headed for the living room with a glass of wine already in her hand. So there I was, in the backyard, with 7 children under 10. The evening air was cooling down, and I could hear crickets starting up in the hedges. 2 kids on the swing set, one hanging upside down from the monkey bars in a way that made my stomach clench. The twins arguing over a toy truck, Caleb chasing a bug, and the baby on my hip chewing on my necklace. Inside, through the kitchen window, I could see the warm yellow light. I could hear my siblings laughing, the clink of glasses, my mother's voice telling some story, my father's low chuckle. They looked comfortable. They looked relaxed. Nobody came to the window to check on us. Nobody asked if I wanted to join them. Nobody offered to take a turn. I was just expected to be there, watching their children, because that is what I do. That is what I have always done. And standing there in that backyard, with a baby drooling on my collarbone and the sound of my family enjoying themselves without me drifting through the screen door, something shifted inside my chest. It was not anger, not exactly. It was this cold, heavy recognition. I was not part of the gathering. I was the help. I set the baby in his playpen. I told Lily to keep an eye on the little ones for just a minute. And I walked inside. They were all in the living room. Karen on the couch with her feet tucked under her. David in my dad's recliner. Melissa on the floor leaning against the coffee table. My parents in their usual spots. They all had drinks. They all looked happy. And when I walked in, they looked at me like I had wandered into the wrong room. "Everything okay out there?" my mom asked, already half turning back to the conversation. "No," I said. "Everything is not okay." The room went quiet. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel. I told them I was done. I kept my voice steady, even though my hands were shaking at my sides. I said I loved those kids more than almost anything in this world, but I was not a babysitter. I was not going to spend every family event alone in the backyard while they sat in here and enjoyed themselves. I said I was a member of this family too, not the hired childcare. The reaction was immediate and ugly. Karen set her glass down with a sharp clink. "Oh my God, Jenny, you're being so dramatic. We're not forcing you to do anything. You literally handed me your baby and walked away without asking," I said. David leaned forward in the recliner. "The kids love you. Why would you want to take that away from them? They'd be crushed." "I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm asking you to actually parent them at family events instead of dumping them on me." Melissa let out this short, disbelieving laugh. "Dumping them? Wow, we thought you enjoyed it. Sorry for thinking you actually liked spending time with your nieces and nephews. I guess that makes us terrible parents. It makes you people who haven't said please or thank you to me in 6 years," I said. My mother stood up. She walked over to me and put her hand on my arm, that gentle but firm grip she uses when she wants you to stop talking. She pulled me into the hallway. "Jenny, you are causing a scene," she said quietly. "This is a family dinner. Family helps family. That is how it has always been." I looked at her. My mother, who I love. My mother, who taught me to be kind and generous and selfless. And I said, "Family also says please. Family says thank you. Family says would you mind. I haven't heard any of those words in 6 years, Mom." Not once. She did not have an answer for that. She just pressed her lips together and went back to the living room. I left early that night. Caleb ran after me to the car and asked why I was leaving. I knelt down and hugged him and told him I would see him soon. I cried the entire drive home. I have not babysat since. 2 of my siblings have not spoken to me. Karen sends clipped one-word responses to my texts. David has not responded at all. Melissa, to her credit, sent me a message last week that said, "I get it. I'm sorry. I have not figured out what to do with that yet." Holiday invitations now come with passive-aggressive reminders. "Just so you know, the kids will be there. They keep asking about their favorite aunt." As if my love for those children is the lever they can pull to get me back into that backyard. I miss the kids. I think about them every day. I miss Caleb's hugs and Lily telling me about her drawings and the twins' ridiculous knock-knock jokes that never have real punchlines. I miss all of it. But I do not miss being invisible. And I am done pretending that I was ever anything else to them. Okay, moving on. AITA for kicking my sister out of my house after she rearranged everything while I was on vacation? I asked my sister to house sit for me while I was on a 2-week vacation. Water the plants, feed the cat, bring in the mail. Simple stuff. The kind of favor you ask someone you trust without even thinking twice about it. I had been planning this trip for months. 2 weeks in Portugal, my first real vacation in 3 years. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, and my apartment is my sanctuary. Everything in it has a place. My desk faces the window because I like natural light when I work. My couch is angled toward the TV but also close enough to the bookshelf that I can grab something to read without getting up. My kitchen is organized the way my brain works. Spices alphabetical, baking stuff on the left, everyday plates within arm's reach. It took me years of living alone to get it exactly right. So when my sister Jenna offered to house sit, I was relieved. She lives about 20 minutes away, and she loves my cat, Oliver. I left her a spare key, a short list of instructions on the counter, and a thank you bottle of wine. I even told her to help herself to anything in the fridge. The flight home was long. I remember sitting in the cab from the airport, exhausted but happy, thinking about how good it would feel to sleep in my own bed. I could already picture Oliver running to the door, doing that little chirping sound he makes when he hasn't seen me in a while. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. And I stopped. The couch was on a different wall. The bookshelf, my heavy, solid oak bookshelf that I had positioned specifically to catch the afternoon light, had been dragged to the opposite corner. My artwork was gone. The 3 prints I had carefully chosen over the years, one from a local artist I met at a street fair, one from a trip to Chicago, one that my college roommate painted for me as a graduation gift. All gone. In their place were these mass-produced prints in cheap plastic frames. Inspirational quotes in cursive over stock photos of sunsets. The kind of thing you find in the clearance bin at HomeGoods. I stood in my own living room and did not recognize it. My hands were shaking as I walked into the kitchen. Every cabinet was different. The mugs were where the plates used to be. The plates were above the refrigerator, who puts plates above the refrigerator? My spice rack had been completely reorganized by some system I could not even identify. It was not alphabetical. It was not by cuisine. It was not by frequency of use. It was chaos dressed up as organization. I opened drawer after drawer, feeling like a stranger in my own home. The junk drawer was gone. She had sorted it into labeled containers. My takeout menus, my spare batteries, my random collection of pens and rubber bands, all separated into little bins like I was running a supply closet. Then I went to my bedroom. My closet was half empty. Half empty. I stood there staring at the gaps between hangers, trying to figure out what was missing. 3 garbage bags worth of clothes, I would later learn. Shirts, jackets, jeans. Things she had apparently decided I did not need. Things she thought were old or outdated or did not fit what she imagined my wardrobe should look like. And that is when I saw it. Or rather, did not see it. My grandmother's jacket. A camel-colored wool blazer from the 1970s with tortoiseshell buttons and a silk lining. My grandmother wore it in almost every photo from that era. She gave it to me 2 years before she died, pressed it into my hands one Thanksgiving and said, "This was my favorite. I want you to have it." I did not wear it often. It was too precious for that. But I would take it out sometimes, hold it, run my thumb over the buttons. It still smelled faintly like her perfume. This powdery floral scent that I could not find anywhere else in the world. It was gone. I called Jenna. My voice was steady at first, which surprised me because inside I was falling apart. "Hey, how was the trip?" she said, all bright and cheerful. "Jenna, what did you do to my apartment?" There was a pause, and then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God, did you see it? I spent like 4 full days on it. Do you love it?" "No," I said. "I do not love it. Where is my stuff? Where are my clothes?" "Okay, don't freak out. I donated some stuff that was honestly just taking up space. You had things in there from like 10 years ago. I was doing you a favor. You donated my grandmother's jacket." Silence. Then, quieter, "Which one was that?" "The camel wool blazer, Jenna. The one Grandma gave me. The one I've told you about. The one that was hanging in a garment bag with a note on it." I didn't see a note. I thought it was just an old jacket. It was in a garment bag. Who donates something in a garment bag? She got defensive fast. "Look, I was trying to help you. Your place was cluttered and honestly kind of depressing. I wanted to surprise you with something nice. Most people would say thank you. I could feel something harden inside my chest. Not anger exactly. Something colder. I want you to come pick up the prints you hung on my walls, I said. Because they're going in the trash by tomorrow morning. Are you serious right now? You're being so ungrateful. You went through my closet and threw away my dead grandmother's jacket. You rearranged my entire home without asking me. You treated my apartment like a project. Like it was broken and you were fixing it. I was trying to help. You were not helping. You were controlling. And you are no longer welcome in my house. I hung up before she could respond. Within an hour, my phone started lighting up. My mother called first, then my aunt, then my other sister. The family consensus was that I had overreacted. That Jenna meant well. That her heart was in the right place. My mother said, she spent days working on your apartment. She thought you would be happy. You need to let this go. Sisters do things like this. Sisters do not donate your dead grandmother's jacket to Goodwill. That weekend, I drove to every Goodwill in a 30-mile radius. Every single one. I described the jacket to every employee who would listen. Camel wool, tortoiseshell buttons, silk lining, probably from the 70s. Some of them checked the back. Most just shrugged. One woman looked genuinely sorry for me, which somehow made it worse. I never found it. Someone probably bought it for $8 and has no idea what it meant. I have not spoken to Jenna in 2 months. My family thinks I am holding a grudge over furniture and clothes. They think this is about a couch being on the wrong wall or some prints from a discount store. They do not understand. Am I the jerk for cutting her off? No, I am not cutting her off over furniture and clothes. I am cutting her off over respect. Over the fact that she walked into my home, decided she knew better than me how I should live, and dismantled my space piece by piece without a single moment of hesitation. If you cannot trust someone to watch your cat for 2 weeks without them tearing apart your entire life, you cannot trust them at all. You're gonna love this one. AITA for refusing to attend my own surprise birthday party? I am an introvert. Not the trendy kind who says they are introverted but goes to brunch every weekend and posts about their introvert energy, while surrounded by 15 friends. The actual kind. The kind where a trip to a crowded grocery store on a Saturday afternoon leaves me needing to sit in my parked car for 10 minutes before I can drive home. Large gatherings drain me physically. My chest gets tight. My thoughts get loud. I start calculating the nearest exit and how long I have to stay before I can slip out without anyone noticing. I recharge by being alone. A book, a quiet room, maybe my dog sleeping at my feet. I have been this way for 34 years and everyone in my life knows it. There is no ambiguity. I have never once hidden it. For my 35th birthday, all I wanted was dinner with my wife at our favorite restaurant. This little Italian place called Luca's, tucked into a side street downtown. They have these leather booths in the back where the lighting is low and the noise from the main dining room barely reaches you. A quiet corner table, a nice bottle of wine, maybe that Barolo we had on our anniversary, and home by 9. That was the dream. That was genuinely all I needed to feel celebrated. My wife, who I love dearly, had other ideas. She planned a surprise party at a local bar. 50 people. A DJ. A custom cake with my face on it, apparently. Streamers, balloons, a photo booth, one of those letterboards that says something like Happy 35th. The works. She had been coordinating for weeks, and I had no idea. She was careful about it. She made calls from her car. She used a separate group chat. She was genuinely excited, and I understand that. I know it came from love. I have never doubted that for a second. I found out because I accidentally saw a group chat on her phone when she left it on the counter. She had gone to take a shower and her screen lit up with a notification. I was not snooping. I was standing right there making coffee and the previewed text just appeared. I glanced down and saw the chat name. Surprise party planning for my name, with 53 members. 53 members. I set my coffee mug down on the counter and just stared at the screen until it went dark. I could hear the shower running down the hall. The refrigerator hummed, and my heart started hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I panicked. Literally. My heart rate spiked and my palms started sweating just reading the chat name. I sat down at the kitchen table and put my hands flat on the surface because they were shaking. 50 people in a bar, all turning to look at me at once, shouting surprise, expecting me to smile and laugh and be the center of attention for an entire evening. I could already feel it, that suffocating pressure of being watched, of having to perform gratitude in real time while every nerve in my body screams at me to leave. I waited 2 days. I tried to talk myself into it. I told myself she worked hard on this, and maybe it would be different this time, and maybe I really would have fun once I got there. But I could not sleep either of those nights. I would lie in bed at 2 in the morning staring at the ceiling, rehearsing how to survive a room full of 50 people staring at me, and my stomach would clench so tight it hurt. So I told my wife I knew about the party and asked her to cancel it. We were sitting on the couch after dinner. I turned off the TV and said I needed to talk to her about something. When I told her I had seen the group chat, her face fell immediately. Not angry, just crushed. Like watching a balloon slowly deflate. She was heartbroken. She had spent weeks planning it. She had picked the venue, coordinated with my friends, chosen the playlist, designed the cake. She said it was a milestone birthday and that I needed to step out of my comfort zone. She said I would have fun once I got there. You always say that, I told her. And I never do. She looked at me with this expression that was halfway between frustration and hurt. You don't even want to try? For me? I have tried, I said. I have tried for 34 years. At your company holiday party last year I locked myself in the bathroom for 20 minutes because I could not breathe. You found me sitting on the floor next to the toilet. Do you remember that? She went quiet. I have heard that line my entire life. You will have fun once you get there. My mother said it before every school dance. My college roommate said it before every house party. And every single time, I spent the entire event counting minutes until I could leave without being rude. Standing in a corner with a drink I was not really drinking. Nodding at conversations I could barely follow because half my brain was devoted to managing the panic in my chest. I said I was not going. I held her hands when I said it. I looked her in the eyes. I said I appreciated the effort enormously. That knowing she cared enough to spend weeks putting something together for me meant more than she realized. But that forcing me into a situation that causes genuine anxiety is not a gift. It is an obligation disguised as celebration. I did not say it with anger. I said it as honestly and gently as I could, because I needed her to understand that this was not about her. It was never about her. She cried. Sitting right there on the couch, she pulled her hands back and pressed them against her eyes and cried. She said I was making her feel like her effort did not matter. Like she did not know me at all. That one landed hard because I know she does know me. She knows I am like this. I think she just hoped that this time, love would be enough to override it. And I wished it could be. I genuinely did. I said her effort mattered. But it was effort towards something I explicitly and repeatedly said I did not want. I had told her in March that I wanted a quiet birthday. I had told her again in April. She heard me both times and decided I did not really mean it. The party was cancelled. She sent a message to the group chat. I do not know what she said exactly, but I imagine it was gracious because she is a gracious person, even when she is hurt. Several friends who had been invited are annoyed with me. One of them, Jake, texted me directly, "Dude, she worked really hard on that." I know she did. That is not the point. My mother-in-law called my wife and said I was ungrateful and selfish. My brother texted me a single line, "You need to grow up." I read it, set my phone on the nightstand face down, and did not respond. I spent my birthday exactly as I wanted. We went to Luca's. We got the corner booth. The waiter brought us a bottle of the Barolo without being asked because he remembered us from our anniversary. My wife wore the green dress I love and she reached across the table and held my hand, and even though I knew she was still a little sad about the party, she smiled at me and said happy birthday and meant it. We split a tiramisu. We were home by 9:15. I sat on the couch with the dog in my lap and a glass of wine in my hand and I felt completely, entirely at peace. I am told that makes me a jerk. But I had the best birthday of my life.